si logramos ver, también todo está bien.
What's up, everybody? All right, you guys, so before we get started, if you're not already following me, make sure you hit that follow button, and you guys, make sure you blow this one up because we need your help in getting justice for Jalen Griffin. So this story takes place in Buffalo, New York, and it takes place back in 2020. So 12-year-old Jalen Griffin had told his family that he wanted to walk to a convenience store that was a few blocks away from his home. Now, this was not out of the ordinary for Jalen, so his family went ahead and let him go. But the different thing about this situation was after Jalen walked to this store in August of 2020, he never returned home. So when Jalen first went missing, his family is saying that police treated this as a runaway situation. They really didn't do much to try to help find him, but his family is saying that they knew that Jalen did not run away. Jalen was happy, he was healthy. His mother is saying that he checked in with her regularly, even when he was out in the neighborhood playing. Not only that, his mother is saying that there was nothing going on for Jalen to even want to run away. Jalen was a mama's boy, and his mother was completely worried about this 12-year-old because she knew this was out of character for him.
August 4th of 2020 is the last time I seen or heard from my 12-year-old son. November 23rd of 2020, my 18-year-old son was murdered.
So you guys, sadly, only a few months later, Jalen's mother would lose Jalen's brother after he was murdered. Now, he was killed a few days before Thanksgiving, and this family was still struggling trying to find Jalen, and now they had to deal with that as well. Something that's crazy about this case is while Jalen was missing, people would call the family saying that they had Jalen and that the family needed to give them money in order to get Jalen back. But y'all, none of these calls were proven to be real, and people were just doing this in order to scam the family. Now, for the next few years, the family would desperately search for Jalen. They would hold vigils, they would hold search parties, but no one could find him anywhere. Sadly, in September of 2023, Jalen's mother, Joanne, would pass away. And on her deathbed, she made everyone promise that they would not stop looking for Jalen.
Glenn Griffin, 48-year-old Joanne Ponzo suddenly passed away. Jalen has been missing since the summer of 2020. He was 12 years old then. Just last month, a vigil was held where you can see Joanne still crying, praying for her son to be found.
Now, you guys, this family was constantly dealing with tragedies, but they were still looking for Jalen. Now, months after Jalen's mother passed away, this month in April, police will get a break when a maintenance man will call them with a shocking discovery. So there was this maintenance man, he was working at this house that was on the south side of Buffalo. And this man is saying that he discovered a body that was in the attic. Now, after police were able to get this body, they got the dental records, and it was confirmed that this was 12-year-old Jalen in the attic. Now, what's weird about this is they're saying that there wasn't a smell there. They're not saying if this house was actually occupied by people. All police are saying that these remains have been identified as Jalen. This is a homicide investigation, and now they're waiting on an autopsy to see a cause of death.
Jalen's father wants justice and has questions as well.
They say they found the body Friday, the court Friday, or whatever. Why wasn't I notified? We all don't know how long he's been deceased. I'm quite sure it should have been some type of odor. Now that I have confirmation, I do feel a lot better.
Prosecutors say the medical examiner's office will do an autopsy, which could take months.
Now, I want to give a shout out to everybody that continued putting Jalen's name out there. Even when his mother passed away, the search never stopped. Now, my thing is the fact that this was treated as a runaway situation. We don't know how long he was in that attic. And police should have done way more, seeing as that this was a 12-year-old kid at the time of disappearance. His mother died from an illness, not ever knowing what happened to her son. And now his dad is left to pick up the pieces and to try to figure out who is responsible for his son's death. Now, if you have any information on the death or on that disappearance.
Oh no, that's kind of weird because not too many times people just out here doing that to random people. It's like it was a cause behind it, especially with the people trying to get money from the family. It made me believe that people was believing that the family had some type of money. But also with the brother end up getting killed, I wonder what that brother was off into, you know what I'm saying? But still, they both was young and it's both terrible. I hope everything gets solved and I hope they get their peace, but that's crazy.
Parents of Jalen Griffin, please contact Buffalo Police. And as always, you guys, make sure you blow this up, share this. Let's get justice for Jalen.
This woman's final moments, she is screaming, yelling for help as this man holds her up at gunpoint before killing her, and it's all because of a scam. So here's what we know. 81-year-old William Brock is facing murder charges for shooting and killing Uber driver 61-year-old Lalitha Hall. Hall, a Uber driver, was told to go pick up a package at Brock's home through the Uber app. This is where the story gets really crazy. According to local news, Brock, the man, called 911 and reported that he had shot someone on his property who was attempting to rob him. But when police got on scene, first responders found Hall, the woman, on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds and Brock with an injury to his head and ear. Now, an initial investigation revealed that Brock had been a victim of a scam call regarding an incarcerated relative. The caller threatening Brock and demanding money. The investigation also showing that Hall received communications from the same person through the Uber app. They asked her to pick up a package for delivery from Brock's home. Hall, not knowing he was the victim of a scam call, went to the house to do her job. This is very heartbreaking because police said Hall suffered from medical conditions and she was unarmed. She didn't make any threats toward Brock and made no demands other than that she was asked to pick up a package that was sent to her through the Uber app. Brock then pulling out a gun, making demands for the identities of the people that he spoke to on the phone. Hall yelling, "Stop, or I'll call 911, but Brock took her phone. He then went on to shoot her 2 more times before calling police. Brock was arrested and charged with murder, and more charges are pending.
This case is absolutely sad. If that lady wasn't being forceful or anything, he shouldn't have pulled that trigger. He should have just waited for her to leave and just wrote the license plate number down. Simple. The guy was a little older, so who knows where his mental was. But we see old buddy Joe. But his mental was definitely there enough to interrogate her and pass judgment on somebody.
He claims he doesn't know why he did it, but he did do it. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of Trinity Bates. Viewer discretion is advised. Trinity, pictured here with her family, was just 8 years old at the time of this case. She lived here in this neighborhood in Bundaberg in Australia, and Trinity was just a kid. She was just a happy-go-lucky kid. She loved girly stuff, but she also loved things like snakes. She was just a sweet, well-behaved kid. But sadly, there would be a monster very close to her who decided she did not need to be here anymore. It was the morning of February 22nd, 2010. Trinity's family would wake up, but Trinity was no longer in the house. Her parents had, put her to bed the night before, and everything seemed fine. But suddenly, she's missing from the house. So she was reported missing to the police, and then the police, the community, the family all got together looking for her. And sadly, they would find her very soon. Sometime after 6 a.m., about 100 meters from her home in this drainage ditch, they found the body of a young girl. She was very quickly identified as 8-year-old Trinity Bates. Ultimately, she had been killed by someone choking her. There were no indications that she had been sexually assaulted. She did have a lot of abrasions to her body and a cut on her forehead. There were fingerprints and palm prints left on the windowsill of Trinity's bedroom, and apparently this would help them lead to a neighbor, 19-year-old Alan John Slater. He had known Trinity and her family for many years, in fact, since Trinity was born. His dad worked with Trinity's dad for like 15, 16 years. And so eventually Trinity's family moved into the same neighborhood as them. He had been to Trinity's house, Trinity had been to his house. The families were good friends, they were close. As a matter of fact, he and his family helped search for Trinity that morning. He had been a troubled young man for some time. He barely graduated high school. He'd gotten in trouble for harassing a 22-year-old woman when he was 17. He had broken into a school once and got arrested for it. On the night that Trinity would have been taken, his mom says that she saw him in bed around 9 p.m. or so, but then from that point on didn't see him. She just assumed he was in bed. Now later he would say that he was fueled by alcohol and video games, but at some point that night he decided to go outside the house when everyone was sleeping. He then, for reasons he says he can't explain, saw the house where Trinity lived and just went to her bedroom window because her bedroom window was open. He says he got a plastic chair and he put it outside her window and climbed it.
If he was my neighbor and I knew he looked weird like that, like he looked weird, I wouldn't let my daughter sleep with her window open, especially not on the first floor. Because I hate to have to unalive a person over my daughter. That's crazy.
Inside. But then he says he has no memory of what happened in the bedroom. No one heard a thing. He says his memory of the night just basically kind of comes and goes and comes and goes. He can recall walking towards the drainage ditch where she was found, but he can't remember the whole walk. He says he has a vague memory of Trinity being over his shoulders or clutching onto him. He remembers at one point it was hard to move around. He says, I remember there being water. And then he says he just remembers walking home. He told police later he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he says he has absolutely no idea why he did this. Because again, she was not sexually assaulted. It was as if he could not control himself, and then he just, what they described as, squeezed her to death. He choked her. It was a completely senseless murder. I mean, all murder is senseless, but they just couldn't make sense of why.
They lock him up, somebody just need to squeeze him tight every night.
He did it. Was he telling the truth about his memory coming and going? Was he just saying that to make himself look like less of a bad guy? So he was arrested for her murder and he was charged with it. There would be someone in prison he was with, this guy here, who claims that Alan told him that this was all fueled by video games and alcohol and stuff like that. That Alan was more forthcoming about what he did and why he did to this guy. But it's still pretty vague. But it sounds like Alan was trying to blame video games and alcohol. Again, trying to lessen his actual involvement. So he is essentially in jail and waiting his trial for like 2 or 3 years. And then as the trial is about to happen or start, he just says, you know what, I'll just plead guilty. And that's exactly what happens. He pleads guilty to the murder. He's sentenced to life in prison with a parole period that's unknown. I know it's a lot different in other countries, so he can be paroled, but when that would ever happen, it's not really known. He murdered this young, innocent girl for absolutely no apparent reason. So I hope he rots there forever.
Recently released.
Pretty sure he getting dealt with right now.
Body cam footage shows moments before an Ohio woman confesses to murdering a 5-year-old boy because she was angry that she caught him eating snacks on his bed. In February of 2024, 48-year-old Pammy May was arrested for the murder of 5-year-old Darnell Taylor. And for a quick clarification, Pammy was not Darnell's mother. Pammy was actually just Darnell's caregiver. In the body cam footage, you can hear both Pammy and the officers refer to Darnell as her son, so it's a little bit confusing. But it has been confirmed that she was his caregiver, not his mother, and I'll explain more of that towards the end of this video. On February 14th of 2024, an Amber Alert was issued for 5-year-old Darnell after he was reported missing. When Darnell was reported missing, the caller reported that his wife, Pammy May, had just told him that she had killed the boy.
911. No. 905. North 905 Reed Avenue. Good told me. Oh, what? That she killed us. She just told me she killed us. Okay. She just told me she killed us. Where's your house? Where's? I don't know. I just checked out there in his bedroom. He is not here. Okay, what's his name? She's running out the house now.
Oh no, I don't think I would have let her leave. Especially after doing that to my son.
She's 5.
And is she white, black, or Hispanic?
She's black. She's taking
No, she looked crazy. She identified as crazy.
my car, and she's running out the house now.
Okay, what's your name?
Pammy May. P-A-M-M-Y.
Okay, what kind of vehicle is that?
It's gray Jeep Cherokee. The license plate is J-I-G-D-D. With
Yeah, I'm sorry, J-I-D-D.
two eyes that look like the Roman numeral 2. She's speeding out of the driveway now.
Did she tell you how she did it or anything detailed?
No, she just woke me up and said she's not here no more. I said, what would you do? What did you do to him? She said he's not alive. And then when I tried to grab the phone to call you, she started fighting.
Man, I probably would have blacked out, woke up with my hands around her neck, something like that. I don't know. That's deep.
Got up to check his room because I didn't get off work till 10:30, and I didn't see him tonight. I came straight home, took a shower, and went to bed. I didn't even check in on him because I usually don't when I get home because I want him to sleep. And now she's saying she just woke me up and just told me I got something serious to tell you. And I said, what? And that's what she told me. She's not here anymore.
Okay, is it?
Yes.
And that's a female or a male? I'm sorry.
It's a
male. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other children in the home?
No. She won't talk about something. She got a plan. I'm not going to jail for her.
Okay, and she didn't tell you anything about this plan?
No. She just said, I got a plan, and that's when I called you, and I told her I'm not going to jail for her.
Okay, when was the last time you...
When I left to go to work this morning at 10 a.m., I left at 10 a.m. and I did not get home until 10:30.
Any diagnosed illnesses or anything that... Or anything like that you know of?
She does have depression and bipolar disorder, but she has been taking medicine for it. She's been fine. She's been around plenty of children.
So this is completely out of character for her?
Very much so. Very much so.
Okay. All right, go ahead and speak with the officers. Thank you.
She didn't tell me. She just woke me up. Okay. Yeah, you can... She woke me up. Yeah, there's chickens over there. They have roosters and everything. Yeah, I haven't checked my house at all. I have no idea. I worked from 10 to 10:30. When I left at 10 o'clock, she was here. She was fine. Matter of fact, I even called and checked in on him a couple times during the day. I come home at 10:30. I know he's asleep. I didn't even go in his room and check on him. I take a shower. I go straight to you. She wakes me up. She wakes me up about 15 minutes ago and said, I got something serious to tell you. I said, what? She said, shut your phone off. Shut your phone off. So I shut the phone off and I said, what happened? She said, not here anymore. I said, well, what do you mean? Where did he go? Who does he live? She was like, he's not alive anymore. So then I grabbed my phone and I started to call y'all. I grabbed my phone and I started to call y'all. She started fighting me, grabbed me in my mouth, and I was trying to let me talk to the 911 operator. She grabbed my keys with me, like on the system, right there on that side door. She grabbed my car and cleared that driveway and said, down towards my letter. I have no idea. She had relatives in town? Yeah, she's from here. She had a...
911.
No. 905... North 905 Reed Avenue. Good so.
What?
I mean, this is right out of a television show.
This story is so unbelievable, I almost guarantee it's going to be the next big Netflix true crime documentary. This all started last Thursday in Seminole County, Florida, when someone was driving and recorded what appears to be an armed carjacking. Pretty quickly, police were like, yeah, this woman, Catherine, was driving and she is now missing. What took longer to come out, however, was that within 2 hours of that carjacking, police got a call of a vehicle fire, went to a remote area, and found her vehicle engulfed in flames, burned so much that they couldn't even tell the make and model it.
If somebody walked up to my car like that, they would just have to fire off some rounds because I'm going pedal to the metal, skirting up out of there.
First, but they found her deceased inside and about a dozen shell casings in the area. But there's more. The person who recorded this video also called 911. They told police they had witnessed this green Acura chasing her, ramming the back of her vehicle before this unfolded. Catherine had a phone. She called her husband. He says that she said, "I'm being followed by someone," and he told her not to get out of the car. You know what neither of them did? Called the police. Neither one of them did. Police made contact with him. What, she hung up and then was carjacked and killed, and hours later her husband wasn't like, "Wonder what happened with those people who were chasing my wife," and called the police? But it gets even weirder. This green Acura, police couldn't see the plate, but they figured out the year, and with the color they found out it was very, very rare. There was only 3 of these in the entire state of Florida, and 2 of them had been sold to salvage yards. So it's literally a one-of-a-kind car in the state of Florida. So they look and find that these people had it. They sold it like a company who sold it at an auction. And somewhere along the line, people didn't file the title paperwork, so they don't know who currently owned it. What they do know is that several days before this was at an apartment complex illegally parked and was towed away. Do you know what happened after it was towed away? The tow truck driver who towed it was murdered. He was shot. They found more than 100 spent rounds at the crime scene, and that car was seen at the crime scene prior to the murder. So it seems that these people tracked him down, killed him, and took the car. And all of those shell casings, they were from a very unique caliber. 10 millimeter, which is not something you see a lot of. And guess what the shell casings around her burned up car were? Also 10 millimeter. But good news, police have already made an arrest in the case. 2 people, in fact. Hey, there was 2 carjackers. They must have arrested those 2 carjackers, right? Wrong. You know who they arrested?
The sheriff's department also stating a deputy with Orange County was arrested in connection to Aguas Vivas' case. Deputy Francisco Estrella seen here in bond court, facing 5 charges held with no bond after he is accused of using a fake name to access an internal server to get information on Aguas Vivas' case. The sheriff's office is saying Estrella was allegedly asked to access that information by Aguas Vivas' husband.
So I've described the husband as cooperative. Quite frankly, I think he knows a lot more than what he shared.
Apparently, the woman who was murdered, her husband and her brother knew this deputy's wife, contacted her and said, "Can your husband give us information on the investigators working this case?" He then pretended to be a detective. He is not. Contacted, went into the system, got some information, shared very sensitive case information with them, as well as information allegedly like the names of the detectives who were working the case and their personal information, like their personal cell phones and their home addresses. Also, she was in Seminole County, which is like Winter Park, Central Florida, but she's from Homestead, which is Miami. Pretty long drive. And her husband had said she was up here visiting family, but police can find no family up here. So she wasn't here for that. So why was she up here, and why did this happen? I have a feeling this is just going to get weirder before it gets solved.
I got a weird feeling about this one. It seemed like somebody was there to pick up that pack.
Colorado truck driver convicted of killing woman who threw rocks at his vehicle. This is John David Thorne. He's a 44-year-old, and this incident happened back in 2022. In October of 2022, Thorne was sleeping in his semi-truck when he woke up at about 2 a.m. to somebody throwing rocks at his vehicle. He then told the woman to stop and pulled out a gun. He went on to shoot her, but then called 911 to get her some aid. She was pronounced dead at the scene. He claimed that he was scared for his safety, and that's why he did this. And then he went on to claim even further that it was self-defense. When officers went to investigate his truck's wreckage, there were only like minimal scratches from a couple pebbles she threw. The judge stated that he should have just drove away or called 911 instead of just shooting a random person like this, especially over a couple pebbles thrown. On April 12th, he was sentenced for second-degree murder and enhancement of violence from a deadly firearm. And of course, he is responsible for the death of 46-year-old Rachel Holmes. He is scheduled to appear in court for sentencing on July 22nd. Well, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Was he justified? Was he not? And as always, these videos...
This police officer was recently suspended from his job for unaliving and R-wording a 13-month-old baby. Y'all, this is infuriating. And the fact that...
And look at that dumb smirk, or whatever you want to call on his face. He looked like a creep.
you don't see this kind of stuff on the news is insane to me. Please like and share this video. This man was only suspended. He was not arrested. He was not charged. According to what I looked into, he was suspended. He was not even fired from his job. Also managed to find his Facebook profile. I believe this is him, Stephen Cudini. Went to come.
Why she do that to him? I know it ain't no Facebook no more. I'm pretty sure he got spammed into oblivion.
Cumberland Valley High School. The faces of the children are blurred, but he has children of his own, and he SA'd and unalived a 13-month-old baby. A 13-month-old baby. Yes, another photo of him in uniform. You can see his name tag right there. This is absolutely disgusting, you guys. People like this go without punishment and get slapped on the wrist, and I'm tired of it. Something needs to change, and this is disgusting.
I hope somebody make love to him in prison every day.
A 19-year-old's body has been scattered across the Milwaukee area after she went on a first date. Last Monday night, Shade told her building secretary about how she was so excited to go out for seafood with 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson. She never returned home, and when she missed her shift the next day, everyone knew that something was wrong. Now, when police looked at Shade's phone records, they found the pair went to Twisted Fisherman around 5 p.m., and then they actually went out for drinks and went back to Maxwell's house. You can see it was 12:45 when her phone left that residence and started pinging at local parks. Shade's work actually closed for the next 3 days to search for her, as investigators began to find a disturbing trail of evidence. On Tuesday morning, Shade's car was found burnt in an alley at 30th and Lisbon Street. Inside the vehicle, there was her clothing and part of her iPhone, and in the surrounding area, there was reportedly human flesh and a foot. Then, later that same afternoon, a passerby, quote, found a leg that had been sawn off at the hip down a bluff at Ornament Park. Over the next 2 days, more partial remains were found in the area, and tragically, some of those had already been determined to be Shade. Now, from here, using phone records and surveillance footage, police quickly determined that they were looking for Maxwell.
Oh no, dude, look a little off anyways. Look at him. His face is shaped like the dad in Incredibles.
They actually had video of him taking the bus after lighting Shade's car on fire, and they found blood and canisters of gasoline at his house. He was ultimately pulled over on the morning of April 4th and charged with first-degree murder, mutilating a corpse, and arson. Now, aside from that, we know Maxwell's neighbors have described him as keeping a low profile and occasionally seen walking his dogs. He's worked at several bars in the area where he's been described as a good coworker, well-liked, and not the type to do this. He also does have a criminal history, which consists of disorderly conduct and domestic violence charges. In one of these cases, he destroyed the property of 2 of his relatives, and in the other, he beat a man on Milwaukee Street. As of today, Maxwell is being held in a $5 million bond, as police continue to search and try to figure out what happened. And as for Shade, she graduated high school a semester early and was about to graduate with an associate's in criminal justice. Community members have said, quote, "It could have been any one of our daughters. She was just going on a date. Who could have expected it to end like this?"
This is by far one of the scariest unsolved murders. Let's talk about it. This is Russell and Shirley Dermond. They were
I don't know, Shirley, that grin looked kind of scary.
married for 64 years and went on to have 4 kids together. They were living in a nice house in a gated community on Lake Oconee in Putnam County, Georgia, and they were really enjoying their peaceful retired life. They were extremely loved by the community, but on May 6, 2014, their lives would tragically end. Russell and Shirley were last seen alive on May 1st running some errands in Eatonton, and they last spoke to their son later that same day on the phone. A few days later on May 3rd, the couple was supposed to attend a party with their neighbors for the 2014 Kentucky Derby, but they never showed up. 3 more days would pass with no word from the Dermonds, and their neighbors became so worried that they went to their house to check on them. When they arrived, they found that the front door was unlocked, so they let themselves in. Everything inside the house seemed perfectly fine, but when the neighbor entered the garage, they found Russell's decapitated body lying in a pool of blood surrounded by towels. They obviously called 911 immediately because of the horrific scene, and when police arrived, they quickly realized that Shirley was missing. Police initially thought that Shirley had been kidnapped, so a massive search was launched, but sadly, 10 days later, Shirley's decomposed body was found floating in Lake Oconee by a couple of fishermen. She had initially been weighed down by 2 30-pound concrete blocks. According to the autopsy, Shirley died from 2 or 3 deep wounds to the head from a blunt object. Authorities initially believed that the murder stemmed from a robbery, but there were no signs of a break-in and nothing was taken from their home. Hundreds of tips and leads started pouring in, but To this day, the case remains unsolved. And the most horrifying part is that Russell's head has never been found. According to reports, gunshot residue was found on his collar, leading authorities to believe that he was decapitated after being shot in the head in order to stop police from finding the bullet. Over the years, people have speculated that the Dermans' deaths were related to their oldest son, Mark. Mark was killed in Atlanta in 2000 during a drug dispute, but police strongly believe that there is no connection. What makes this case so confusing is that there's still so many unanswered questions. Police still don't know whether or not the killer entered through the front gate of the community or if they had access to the back of the house by boat, but they do believe that multiple people were involved. Police also believe that the towels surrounding Russell's decapitated body were placed there to stop his blood from seeping out underneath the garage door. And as far as the concrete blocks tied to Shirley's body, investigators said that a professional would know that that wouldn't work. So the question remains on who would do this and why. According to police, new DNA evidence and cell phone data was discovered last year that they are hoping will lead to the people responsible, but they don't know if it's enough DNA evidence to be run through CODIS or if it even belongs to the killer. At this point, it could still just belong to Russell and Shirley. Investigators are using new technology to analyze the recent cell phone data found that wasn't existent in 2014, so they remain hopeful. But it's now been 10 years, and whoever killed Russell and Shirley and took his head is still out there.